Come see us on tour in Los Angeles, Honolulu, Dallas, Texas, Baltimore, Atlantic City, Cohoes, New York, and Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets, and only there. So there's a new war movie out.
Finally.
Ready? It's war like you've always seen it before. How can you spot the bad guys? They're the ones who, for some reason, are screaming while you invade their country. It's a war movie about Iraq. And it looks like it's like how the guys feel bad about it a little bit. I don't know. You tell me what happened. Here we go.
How's it going?
Going well.
So this is Iraq 2006. It's not even 2000. We went in 2003. This is 3 years in. Okay.
When it was getting really good.
That's that new guy energy.
Oh, he's back. That's the fourth fucking time he's done that.
So you're peeking at probing?
Peeking with serious intent to probe.
Alpha 2, we might have guys starting to move on our position.
Copy, we're getting a buildup of activity here too.
Yeah, I definitely see weapons at this point.
Yeah, we have definite massing.
So the American soldiers are all dressed up like soldiers, right? Kevlar and helmets and all kinds of gear. These guys are walking around in Adidas jackets.
Yeah. Camouflage, if you will.
Yeah.
Camouflage.
Redman 08 is profane. We're seeing activity converging to your north and south.
This is Frogman 6 Romeo. We need evac at our last known position. We have severely wounded.
I like how they say everything is based on memory.
What?
Everything's based on... You mean like all war stories and really all stories anywhere? They're all based on memory. I guess they want us to know it wasn't improv. Of course it's based on memory. Entirely from memory. By memory, do you mean like a pre-written script that was approved by the Pentagon? You mean like that kind of memory? Then they handed it to a director, had a veteran hand it to a director? Wow. And then they made the vet take media classes and gave him a handler? You mean like that? That kind of entirely from memory? Because if not, I don't see how you could have access to all that cool military equipment.
That's why you get it.
That's how
Call of Duty. Remember that story, Call of Duty? Always has a Pentagon guy there. So they can put like cool guns in while they teach you that war is inevitable and forever. This is the Infinity War, not the Marvel thing. Marvel Infinity War. This is the Infinity War.
Here we go. There's more to this trailer.
This is severely wounded. It's not you. It's me. Who is it? No, it's not you. No, it's it.
Copy, 1, we're in contact 2.
You coming to you or you coming to us?
Stand by. We'll let you know when we're inbound.
Let's move!
So just to be sure, they're inside someone's house, right?
Mm-hmm.
They went and invaded a foreign country on a lie. They kicked the people out who lived there. Okay, just to let you
Jimmy,
know what's
you're not fighting for freedom. You're fighting for the man next to you. It's the ultimate bait and switch I've ever heard of in my life.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know the guy next to me if you hadn't tricked me into coming out of here.
Here's the plan.
TA 5 minutes, over.
The scouts are going to lead us out, and I'm bringing up the rear. Pop smoke. Smoke out. We are all coming back.
OP1.
This is warfare. Was it really? I don't know. I wasn't there.
Well, Lone Survivor was a big crock of shit. So I'm like, remember Lone Survivor?
Yeah.
Mark Latrell?
No, I don't.
And I want you to get the guy, the one part that's true is an Afghan guy saved his life and faced a horrible retribution for that. And he finally was allowed to come to America. He lives in Houston or
okay.
He lives right in Texas. But that was all. Mark Latrell just said that. He goes, yeah, they handed me my book. It wasn't ghostwritten where he tells a story. It's pre-written. They died fighting 100 Taliban. It was really more like 8. And also they weren't Taliban. It was some like it was complete crap. It was like Pat Tillman over and over again.
Yeah. All right, there's a little bit more to this trailer. This is warfare.
3 minutes out.
Was that the Iraqi? I think that was the again, this looks like an army fighting people who aren't in an army.
It looks like War of the Worlds, but like if we're the aliens.
I remember Bill Hicks had that. Remember they would say that the Iraqi army is the 4th most powerful army in the world. Big drop off after that 3rd army.
Yeah.
He had a joke
I bet
like
it
that.
wasn't.
Big drop off.
Yeah.
So this is 3 years in. Who are they still fighting after 3 years? It's just people, right, that are there? Some
right.
ragtag militias, whatever.
After getting rid of the best president in the history of Iraq.
Well, remember what Henry Kissinger said? It's dangerous to be America's enemy. It's deadly to be America's friend. And that's this mistake that Saddam Hussein made, Gaddafi made, Bashar al-Assad. He's not dead yet, but they were all friends. We used to he was
Rumsfeld's friend.
Yeah, Rumsfeld's friend. We used to kidnap people off the streets of the world, send them to Syria, and Syria would torture them for us. They were friends with us.
Hey, you know how it is with friends.
Yeah, friends. Here we go.
A lot of your friends won't talk to you after COVID. So,
That's right.
you know.
I think they had a big falling out over COVID. Assad and the West.
Eyes on me and only me. Has anyone looked at you?
I'm fucked up.
2 minutes out. 2 minutes.
Where are you guys?
Look for the blood and the smoke.
Multiple bad guys trying to get to our position.
Inbound. Inbound. Find cover. 1 minute out.
We have enemy on our building and all surrounding buildings.
Roger that. Stand by. Going hot.
Better get ready, man. This is gonna hurt.
On my count. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Well, guess what? It's war season coming up.
War season's coming up. They got to get you ready for another war.
What are you going to do? Sit at home like a jerk watching anime and transitioning, or the last of the masculinity? Time to go do something real. Just like that movie. Remember Saving Private Ryan that glorified the shit out of war?
That came out right when we were getting ready to go to war, right?
Yeah. What a piece of propaganda. And the story, and it was like, people were like, oh, I was traumatized. I mean, it's right out of 1984.
I mean,
and yeah.
I don't know how people could see Saving Private Ryan and then still volunteer for war. I'm guessing that all the people...
I'll tell you how. You got to think of it, the subconscious message, not the conscious. The conscious message is, I know people that did combat. They're pretty cool. They think real combat. Then the storyline is America. It's basically an update of the Fighting Sullivans. I don't know if you remember that old war propaganda movie from World War II, where a whole Irish family dies in World War II.
Yeah.
And it's called the Fighting Sullivans. So it's the same story, but this time America's like, no, we've taken enough of this woman's kids, so we're going to get the one last Ryan, the one last Irish chump, and we're going to get him to come back. And there's no way in hell the American government has ever or would ever give 2 fucks about you losing all your kids in a conflict.
They don't.
That is absurd. So that absurd story is the feel-good E.T. part. You understand, of Spielberg? The violence is there as like the musical part, like how Quentin Tarantino says, a musical. All violent, it's always a musical. So yeah, no, you're traumatized, but it's also like, oh, how noble that was. He tried to live a good life. Hey, who am I? Some jerk off at home doing nothing. Why don't I try to do something big that could be a movie and, you know, brotherhood and whatever. I don't have any friends.
So, I'm just saying that the people, so it used to be you didn't really know what to expect when you went to war, but after Private Ryan, you know what to expect. They learned
that makes it better. And 1984 said this.
And what way?
It's like they read it.
But the people see that movie and they still want to go do that. To me, that's the scary thing.
Well, what else do you have going on for you?
I mean,
what if you're in a gang? By the way, it's one of the time-tested things is getting gang members in the military. And why wouldn't you? Some of them are smart enough to know, I don't own this block that I fight for. Why don't I go get I've seen them say it. Why don't I go kill for my country and be a gangster and come back and I'm a hero? And then if I want to go back to my gang, I got real tactics. That's how we got drive-by shootings. Drive-bys existed before that with the mob, But after Vietnam, the Crips and the Bloods, those are the Vietnam vets coming home, utilizing those tactics. And then it creates more jobs and more opportunities for everyone.
Well, I have a lot of people who were in the military come to my shows.
Yeah.
I have a lot of them, and they well, I remember one guy.
All the working stiffs that do the job.
He said, I was in a war in 3 different continents or 3 different countries. And he said, I finally, watching your show helped me wake up, and it makes me feel good when people say that. I'm glad I could help. But, there's people in the military go around recruiting young kids who feel like they don't have feel like they don't have a future to go fight in these economic wars.
Statistically, they don't.
And statistically they don't. But then now there's also a group of ex-veterans that go around trying to unrecruit kids, trying to tell them don't fall for that recruiting garbage. And
I didn't know how intense that recruiting thing is. I had no idea the level of it. It's a good deal more intense than the homosexual recruiting I was warned about when I was young.
So here's some of the responses to that new pro-war movie thing. Is this a movie about the 1 million Iraqis that were killed? Didn't look like it.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't look like it. Funny, destroyed a country based on a lie, terrorized its people, and now you're romanticizing your terrorism.
Yeah.
We get enough.
Now, if you write this, see, this is useful on a lot of levels. You recruit people who want to get some action, and then the people that say something about it, you've now put dye in the water to see who's going to be cool with it. There's so many. They use every part of the buffalo.
Yeah, here. We get enough Army and Marines ads on literally every social media platform. We're good on this slop, A24. Hey, we're doing art house war propaganda now.
There's no way a vet would be allowed to make a thing in today's Hollywood that was not approved by the Pentagon. So you're not going to hear anything like, you're going to hear something that got approved at the end of the day, which is why everybody still believes the bullshit about how Osama bin Laden died and everything else.
So I like this. This guy says, will this soldier be in it? And I'm not going to play you the video. But this is a video where an American soldier brags about and laughs about a gang raping a 15-year-old Iraqi girl until she committed suicide. She hung herself. A 15-year-old. And she was a virgin. He talks about it. And then I like this guy puts, they hate us for our freedom. Remember when they used to say that? So there's an actual video of this guy telling that story. It's so gross, I didn't want to show it to you, so I'm not. And, wow.
Well, look, if you're there for no reason, what are you supposed to do except real atrocities?
So I like this. Everything is based on memory. Directed by Iraq War veteran Ray Mendoza and Civil War director Alex Garland. This is warfare.
Yeah, that movie stunk.
Looks like he's crying a little bit as he.
No, that's just sweat.
Is that just sweat?
The hot area.
Well, there's this guy. I think he's a comedian. His name is Frankie Boyle. He said, Not only will America go to your country and kill all your people, but they'll come back 20 years later and make a movie about how killing your people made their soldiers feel sad.
Is it classier in England where he's from to wait like 80, do like a World War I movie?
Yeah.
The same damn thing?
I guess it is.
They do like naval war movies.
Here's what they won't show you in that movie. Here is Mike Preisner. I'm sorry. Mike Preisner, who I met years ago. I met him probably over 10 years ago. And I didn't understand what he was talking about, but here's what he's talking about. This is one of those things they call Winter Soldier events. Mm-hmm. And he talks about what they actually did over there, and these people feel bad about it. Watch.
And we've heard a lot about different raids and kicking down the doors of people's houses and ransacking their houses. But this mission was different, a different kind of raid. I never got any explanation for these orders. We were only told that this group of houses, 5 or 6 houses, were now property of the U.S. military, and we had to go in and make those families leave those houses. So we went to these houses and informed the families that those homes were no longer their homes. We provided them no alternative, nowhere to go, no compensation, and they were very confused and very scared and did not know what to do and would not leave, so we had to remove them from those houses. One family in particular, a woman with 2 small girls, a very elderly man and 2 middle-aged men, we dragged them from their houses and threw them onto the street. And arrested the men because they refused to leave, arrested the old man, and sent them off to prison. And at that time, I didn't know what happened to people when we tied their hands behind their back and put a sandbag on their head. But unfortunately, a few months later, I had to find out. We were short interrogators, so I was assigned to work as an interrogator. And I oversaw and participated in hundreds of interrogations. One in particular I'm going to share with you. It was a moment for me that really showed me the nature of this occupation. This particular detainee, when I was sent to interrogate him, he was stripped down to his underwear, hands behind his back and sandbag on his head. I never actually saw this man's face. My job was to take this metal folding chair and just smash it against the wall next to his head. He was faced against the wall with his nose touching the wall, while fellow soldiers screamed the same question over and over again. No matter what his answer, my job was to slam the chair against his wall. We did this until basically we got tired, and I was told to make sure he stood against the wall for however long. And I was guarding this prisoner, and my job was to make sure he kept standing up, but something was wrong with his leg. He was injured, and he kept falling to the ground. And the sergeant in charge would come and tell me to get him up off his feet. So I'd have to pick him up and put him against the wall. And he kept going down. I just have to keep pulling him up and putting him against the wall. And my sergeant came along and he was upset with me for not, making him, continue to stand. He picked him up and slammed him against the wall several times. And then he left, and when the man went down on the ground again, I noticed blood pouring down from under the sandbag. And so I let him sit, and when I noticed my sergeant coming again, I would tell him quickly to stand up. And I realized that I was supposed to be guarding my unit from this detainee, and at that point I realized I was guarding the detainee from my unit. And I tried hard to be proud of my service, but all I could feel was shame, and racism could no longer mask the reality of the occupation. These were people, these were human beings. I've since been plagued by guilt anytime I see an elderly man, like the one who couldn't walk, who he rolled onto a stretcher and told the Iraqi police to take him away. I feel guilt anytime I see a mother with her children, like the one who cried hysterically and screamed that we were worse than Saddam as we forced her from her home. I feel guilt anytime I see a young girl, like the one I grabbed by the arm and dragged into the street. We were told we were fighting terrorists. The real terrorist was me, and the real terrorism is this occupation. Those who send us to war do not have to pull a trigger or lob a mortar round. They do not have to fight the war, they merely have to sell the war. They need a public who is willing to send their soldiers into harm's way. They need soldiers who are willing to kill and be killed without question. They can spend millions on a single bomb, but that bomb only becomes a weapon when the ranks of the military are willing to follow orders to use it. They can send every last soldier anywhere on earth, but there will only be a war if soldiers are willing to fight. And the ruling class, the billionaires who profit from human suffering, who care only about expanding their wealth, controlling the world economy, understand that their power lies only in their ability to convince us that war, oppression, and exploitation is in our interest. They understand that their wealth is dependent on their ability to convince the working class to die to control the market of another country. And convincing us to kill and die is based on their ability to make us think that we are somehow superior. Soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen have nothing to gain from this occupation. The vast majority of people living in the U.S. have nothing to gain from this occupation. In fact, not only do we have nothing to gain, but we suffer more because of it. we lose limbs, endure trauma, and give our lives. Our families have to watch flag-draped coffins lowered into the earth. Millions in this country without health care, jobs, or access to education must watch this government squander over $450 million a day on this occupation. Poor and working people in this country are sent to kill poor and working people in another country to make the rich richer. And without racism, soldiers would realize that they have more in common with the Iraqi people than they do with the billionaires who send us to war.
So I've heard your brain isn't completely formed until you're 25. So maybe that's why they get them when they're 17, 18 years old, and they get them in ROTC.
Obviously, that's why.
They do all that stuff. Because after your brain is fully formed, I think, like, maybe Mike, joined way before his brain was fully formed. I guess he didn't. That's always my question. Didn't you? You didn't see Private Ryan? You don't know that they lied to us
Ryan
about?
Was an awesome movie.
They lied to us about four different presidents, about Vietnam. They lied to us about the first Iraq War. That was all a lie.
New generation of suckers born every minute. Who makes the best soldiers? Kids. You know who definitely use the child soldiers? We do too. Everybody does. It's the whole goal. The whole reason we have kindergarten is from the Prussian School of War, because they found that soldiers were missing on purpose about 70% of the time because they didn't want to kill nobody. So somebody that Prussian guy that had all the giant guards, because he was like had some weird gay fetish for them, he came up with, we got to find a way to get these kids early, to get them away from mommy and daddy, because you don't have that third brainwave until you're 6 or 7. So you can't discern reality. So that's why, how pre-K suddenly became a big deal?
Yeah.
It never was. Kindergarten wasn't separating you from your parents early enough. Pre-K is an attempt for statistically they do better. Yeah, because you can program them into the system. So of course it goes like that. At every level of your life, there's someone preying on you. That's the world system.
The stuff that he was
preying on you.
Can you imagine going to a foreign country and ripping a child out of their house?
Well,
if it was doing it again,
look, you're fighting for the guy next to you. So you go there under false pretenses. They trick you. These are all just like working. It's like a job. Okay.
Well, that is the brainwashing that
My name is Mike Preisner.
you're fighting. You're fighting for the
guy next to you. That's like you got stuck in a bed. Oh, now what are you gonna do? Not fight your way out?
The only point
now we'll see if you're a man.
Yeah, they tell the only point is for you to come back safely and fuck everybody else. Serve and protect the wealthy because they tip.
Wow.
Sometimes. So thank God there's another war movie out there romanticizing war for 2025 because they're getting ready. They're getting ready to send some people over to Iran. We somehow got it done. They ended up bribing. Somehow they ended up bribing Assad's people because their soldiers didn't show up.
Oh, is that right?
That's what I heard. It seems like that they got to the generals and they got to somebody.
Well, now there's an Al Qaeda in charge. So guess
and now
what?
the Al Qaeda is running Syria.
Job creation.
Yeah. Now the legit.
There's be a need. You'll be called to serve.
The people that they said attacked us on 9/11 and brought down 3 buildings with 2 planes. The people they said that did that, the United States funded and are now supporting in Syria. The whole reason for the AUMF, which is how we're able to go and do Libya, how we're able to go do Iraq, Afghanistan, how we're able to go do Syria, is based on the fact that we're fighting the guys who did 9/11 to us. Well, now we're funding the guys who did 9/11 to us.
It's nice how it's almost like America. The symbol of America should not be an eagle. It should be Denzel Washington from Training Day. He's like, this shit's checkers, not this is chess, not checkers. And he's like, I'm the Godzilla. I could do.
It's amazing.
He gets shot by Russians.
And so they got to keep people poor and desperate and young enough to keep joining up for this stuff. And the war propaganda works. You see every asshole. I only go on Twitter, but you see every asshole with the Ukraine flag in their bio. They're just like, hey, I haven't learned anything. I haven't learned anything in my life. I've learned nothing, absolutely nothing, and I'm just a pawn of economic hitmen, but I'm righteous about it. Look, I have a Ukraine flag. I care about because the United States cares about the people of Ukraine, you fucking unbelievable, monumental, colossal chump of all chumps, if you think that today. And by the way, most of the people I know think that.
I know, but that's still not the kind of people that join the military, and most of it is fake. Most of it is from, I don't remember what their intel service is, but if you recall, I think we covered it. They're allowed to propagandize to us.
Right now,
the way Russia interfered with the election, Ukraine's Secret Service is allowed to.
Yep.
We have FBI people involved with them. Remember that? That FBI guy was helping. There's a State Department censorship program.
Your whole government is working against you now, just so you know. And
that's like the CIA works for them. That's like above. It's unreal. So you don't live in a country. You live in a state in NATO.
That's
the
right.
Transatlantic Union is the country that has to control the world. They say it to you openly. Condoleezza Rice just said it. If we don't control the entire fucking world, then Russia will.
Then Russia will.
Psychopath.
Okay.
Zero-sum game, they used to call it derisively, but they believe in it.
It's beyond like depressing. I go through all the stages of grief, right? The denial, the anger, the depression, the acceptance, I haven't gotten to acceptance yet about how people I know personally can sit across a dinner table from me and say that we're there to help the Ukrainian people. I just
if they're
can't
old. If you're old saying it,
yes,
I guess
they're in their 50s. I had dinner with 3 comedians from Boston, and one of them said, "Oh, I'm enjoying watching Putin get his ass kicked across Ukraine." You think that's what's happening?
But
is there any? And that's where I came up with that's where I came up with the phrase. Is there anything you see on CNN and MSNBC or read in the New York Times that you don't believe? Is there anything that you don't believe that you read in the New York Times? Is there anything? And they never have an answer, Kurt. They never have an answer. Go ahead, ask somebody who's repeating State Department and pro-war talking points. Ask them that. Ask them somebody who says that talks about COVID and masks and Ukraine and the vaccine. Ask them that question. Is there anything you hear about COVID that in corporate media because it's sponsored by the War Machine and Big Pharma? Is there anything that you hear on there that you don't believe? Ask them. See what they say back. They'll say nothing. I have yet to get an answer to that.
Those kind of people don't talk to me. That was out with them. Talking about alternative. Well, the Boston comedy.
No, I'm talking about most people everywhere.
Look, what else did Jimmy Tingle say? I'm joking. I'm making a joke. He was a big "you got to forgive the Catholic Church" guy. You know.
No way. No way.
Yeah, Barry Crimmins told me. Yeah.
You gotta be kidding me.
Listen, there's more tied up in it than just your personal fucking vicious childhood rape. There's my, getting ahead in life.
Did you ever see Jimmy Tingle live? You ever see him live? I saw him do a stand-up set once. You ever saw him do a headline stand-up set once?
No, but I mean, it sounds like the name of a guy that forgives the Catholic Church and does morning radio. If I had to guess, I don't know anything about him, but I can deduce.
Come see us on tour in Los Angeles, Honolulu, Dallas, Texas, Baltimore, Atlantic City, Cohoes, New York, and Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets, and only there.